This video is intended to provide general information regarding issues relating to the California Firearm Excise Tax Law and Sales and Use Tax Law, administered by the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, CDTFA, which may affect firearm and ammunition businesses and will not serve as a basis for relief of liability under Revenue and Taxation Code Sections 6596 and 55045 and Regulations 1705 and 3502.
Hi, welcome to Tax Help for Retailers of Firearm Products. I'm with the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. At CDTFA, we administer a variety of tax and fee programs, including sales and use tax and the California Firearm and Ammunition Excise Tax. In this presentation, I'll be covering important tax information. If you sell firearms, firearm precursor parts, or ammunition at retail in California, then this applies to you. I'll go over important tax laws, your tax reporting, and payment obligations. Understand that this presentation provides general tax information. Depending on your business operations, you may have other tax requirements not covered. Now let's get started. What is the California Firearm Precursor Part and Ammunition Excise Tax, or CFET? This is a tax that's applied to the retail sale of firearms, firearm precursor parts, and ammunition in California. For the remainder of the presentation, we'll refer to these three product types as firearm products. It's specifically for licensed firearms dealers, firearms manufacturers, and ammunition vendors who sell firearm products at retail. For the remainder of the presentation, we'll refer to these three groups collectively as retailer of firearm products. Now, it's important to know that this tax is separate from the regular sales tax. So when the retailer of firearm products sells firearm products at retail, the retailer will owe both sales tax and the firearms excise tax. Let's define a retailer of firearm products. CFET applies to you if you sell firearm products at retail in California, and you hold a license from the Department of Justice, DOJ, as a licensed firearms dealer or ammunition vendor, or you are an entity licensed to manufacture firearms under Chapter 44 of Title 18 of the United States Code. If you're a retailer subject to CFET, your retail sales will also generally be subject to sales tax. To understand how CFET applies, it's important to define the key terms: firearms, firearm precursor parts, and ammunition. For purposes of CFET, the definition of a firearm is set forth in subdivisions A and B of Penal Code Section 16520. In general, a firearm is a device designed to be used as a weapon that expels a projectile through a barrel by the force of an explosion or other form of combustion. Now let's talk about firearm precursor parts for the purposes of CFET. Penal Code Section 16531 defines a firearm precursor part as any forging, casting, printing, extrusion, machine body, or similar article that has reached a stage in manufacture where it may readily be completed, assembled, or converted to be used as the frame or receiver of a functional firearm, or that is marketed or sold to the public to become or be used as the frame or receiver of a functional firearm once completed, assembled, or converted. If you need help determining whether a firearm part you are selling meets the definition of a firearm or firearm precursor part, please contact the Department of Justice Bureau of Firearms. You can visit their website at www.oag.ca.gov/firearms. Let's go over the definition of ammunition. California Penal Code Section 16150 defines ammunition as one or more loaded cartridges that contain three key components: a prime case, a propellant, one or more projectiles. Blanks are not ammunition. If you make retail sales in California, you have several obligations under the sales and use tax law. First, you are required to register for a seller's permit with us. You can register for a seller's permit on our website. Second, you are also required to report all of your sales on your sales and use tax return and pay the sales tax due to us. Make sure you apply the correct tax rate where the sale occurs. You can find the correct tax rate for your location on our website. Additionally, you must report and pay use tax on taxable items that you purchased without paying sales tax, but later used instead of selling the item at retail. Now, let's go over the CFET requirements that took effect on July 1, 2024. If you're a California licensed firearms dealer, ammunition vendor, or firearms manufacturer selling at retail in California, these new rules apply to you. Let's break it down step by step. First, if you were not automatically registered, you must register for a CFET certificate registration with CDTFA. This certificate ensures that your business is recognized under the new tax law and remains compliant. Without it, you won't be able to conduct firearm or ammunition sales under the law legally. Second, once you're registered, you're responsible for reporting and paying CFET on your retail sales of firearm products. Just like your sales and use tax returns, you'll need to submit CFET returns to report your sales and pay the CFET due to us. If you do not pay the tax, you will be subject to penalties and accrued interest, so it's crucial to stay on top of this. Let's go over your sales tax responsibilities in more detail, starting with whether your sales are taxable. In California, sales tax generally applies to retail sales of tangible personal property, items you can touch and feel. This includes firearms such as handguns, rifles, and shotguns, as well as ammunition, firearm accessories like iron sights, slings, and magazines, and related supplies such as lubricants and cleaning solvents. In addition to taxable products, some service and labor costs, such as assembling or modifying a firearm, may also be subject to sales tax when they're a part of the sale of tangible personal property. You're responsible for paying sales tax even if you do not collect it from your customers. Additionally, you should make sure that you apply the correct tax rate where the sale occurs. The tax rate is based on where the sale takes place when the sale is over the counter. You can find the correct tax rate for your location on our website. We covered sales tax. Now, let's talk about use tax. Use tax is due when you purchase an item without paying sales tax, but you later use or consume instead of selling the item at retail. The use tax rate is the same rate as sales tax. Use tax generally applies to items you purchase from outside the state of California without the payment of California sales or use tax, or items you remove from your resale inventory for personal use. For example, if you remove a t-shirt from your resale inventory to use as a giveaway to a customer, you owe use tax on the item. For more information, please review our video, Paying Your Use Tax. As a retailer of firearm products in California, you are responsible for reporting and paying both sales tax and CFET on your taxable sales. While you are liable for these taxes, you have the option to collect sales tax reimbursement from your customers at the point of sale. However, it's not mandatory to do so. If you include sales tax in the price of the firearm or ammunition, you must post a sign informing customers that sales tax is included in the sales price. If you do not have a visible sign, sales tax must be separately calculated based on the pre-tax sales price and then added to the receipt. You may also choose to collect CFET reimbursement from customers, but you are not required to do so. If you collect more sales tax or CFET than required, you must either refund the excess amount to the customer or report and remit the excess tax to us. If you're new to firearms and taxes, it's important to understand when a sale is considered final for tax reporting. What is a sale? A sale occurs when either the transfer of title or possession of tangible personal property takes place, whichever comes first, in exchange for consideration or payment. Let's go over an example. On March 25, 2025, a customer paid you the retail selling price of a firearm in full, including any required fees, and you initiated the required background check and mandatory waiting period. The customer returned to pick up the firearm from you on April 8, 2025. For purposes of sales and use tax and CFET, the retail sale occurred on April 8, 2025, when the customer picked up the firearm from you. In this example, the total sale amount must be reported in the tax reporting period that includes April 8, 2025, when the firearm was handed over. For sales and use tax, as well as CFET, the retail price of a firearm product is subject to tax. Additionally, some discretionary fees directly related to the retail sale, such as credit card processing fees and handling fees, may be subject to tax. Shipping charges may also be subject to tax if they are associated with shipping a firearm product to a California licensed firearms dealer, firearms manufacturer, or ammunition vendor to complete a retail sale on behalf of another seller. Properly accounting for all these charges in tax reporting helps maintain compliance with state law and regulations. If you collect CFET reimbursement, is this subject to sales and use tax? No, CFET reimbursement is not subject to sales and use tax. If a retailer collects CFET reimbursement from a customer, that amount is excluded from sales and use tax calculations. Likewise, sales and use tax reimbursement is not subject to CFET. While retailers may pass their CFET costs to their customers, they remain responsible for ensuring the tax is properly reported and paid, just as they would for sales and use tax. Additionally, retailers that collect CFET reimbursement from their customers must maintain accurate records of the amounts collected to ensure compliance with state tax laws. Certain fees imposed on purchasers in California are not subject to sales and use tax, or CFET, even if the customer pays for the fees at the same time as purchasing items subject to tax. These include the DROS fee, the Firearm Safety Act fee, the Safety and Enforcement fee, among others, which are regulatory fees rather than charges for the retail sale of goods. Additionally, fees related to ammunition eligibility verification, such as the basic and standard ammunition eligibility check fee and the certificate of eligibility verification check fee, are also exempt from sales and use tax and CFET. Since these fees are imposed for background checks and compliance with state regulations, rather than as part of a retail sale, they do not factor in the taxable amount for firearm or ammunition transactions. Now, let's walk through how taxes are calculated when making a retail sale of a firearm, and the purchaser pays with a credit card. First, let's look at what makes up the total sales amount. The firearm is priced at $500. There's also a merchant credit card fee of $10, a firearm safety fee of $1, a safety enforcement fee of $5, and a DROS fee of $31.19. When you add all these together, the total amount the customer pays is $547.19. Now let's break down the taxes. CFET applies to the sale price of the firearm and any additional discretionary merchant fees, but it does not apply to government mandated fees like the DROS fee or the safety and enforcement fee. To calculate the CFET due, we take the firearm price of $500 and add the $10 merchant fee, which gives us a taxable amount of $510. The current CFET rate is 11%, so we multiply $510 by 11%, which results in $56.10 in CFET due. Next, we calculate the sales tax due. Sales tax is also based on the firearm price plus the merchant fee, which again totals $510. For demonstration purposes, we use a sales tax rate of 8.5%, so we multiply $510 by 8.5%, which gives us $43.35 in sales tax due. So in this transaction, the CFET due of $56.10 and the sales tax due of $43.35 must be reported and paid on the retailer's respective tax returns. The CFET amount will be included in the CFET return, while the sales tax amount will be reported on the sales and use tax return. Please remember this is just a sample scenario, and I have used an 8.5% sales tax rate for demonstration purposes. As a retailer of firearm products making retail sales of firearm products in this state, you are required to file a CFET return on a quarterly basis. You must report your gross receipts subject to CFET and pay the amounts of CFET due. The CFET return and amounts due are separate from your sales and use tax returns and amounts due. You are required to file your CFET return even if you have no retail sales subject to CFET in a quarter. Make sure to know your return due date. CFET accounts are on a quarterly reporting basis and will be due on or before the last day of the month following each quarterly period. If the due date falls on a weekend or state holiday, the due date is extended to the next business day. It is important to note that if you do not file and pay on time, you may be liable for penalties and interest. If you're engaged in the business of selling tangible personal property, including firearms and related products, you are required to file regular sales and use tax returns to report your sales, even if you have no transactions during a reporting period. You must still file a sales and use tax return and report 0 transactions. If you do not file your quarterly sales and use tax return, even with no sales, you could incur penalties or have compliance issues. Sales to the U.S. government are generally exempt from both sales and use tax as well as CFET. Sales conducted in interstate or foreign commerce, meaning transactions where firearm products are sold and shipped outside of California, are also generally exempt from these taxes. However, when you have these types of transactions, you must maintain proper documentation to verify these exempt sales. A resale certificate allows you to buy resale inventory without paying sales tax reimbursement to your supplier. You should only issue a resale certificate to purchase items without paying sales tax reimbursement if you plan to resell them. You must provide a completed resale certificate to your supplier at the time you are making your purchases or prior to making your purchases. We have a form on our website, Form CDTFA-230, which you can use as a general resale certificate. A federal firearm license, FFL, does not qualify as a resale or exemption certificate, even though this license, combined with a copy of a seller's permit, may contain some essential elements specified for a resale certificate. If you know you will not be selling the items you purchase, those items should not be purchased for resale, and you should pay the sales and use tax and CFET if applicable. There are penalties for misusing resale certificates, so you should not use a resale certificate for purchasing items for personal use. Let's go over exemptions specific to CFET. Certain sales of firearm products are exempt from CFET. Here's what you need to know. Retail sales of firearm products to active or retired peace officers or any law enforcement agency employing peace officers are not subject to CFET under Revenue Taxation Code Section 36021, Subdivision A. To facilitate the record keeping of these types of CFET exempt sales, you may use Form CDTFA-230-FET. Additionally, if your gross receipts total less than $5,000 from the retail sale of firearm products within a quarter, those sales are also exempt from CFET under Revenue and Taxation Code Section 36021, Subdivision B. However, even though those retail sales are not subject to CFET, they may still be subject to sales and use tax, so it's important to verify compliance with all applicable tax regulations. Let's go over some common scenarios for retailers of firearm products. These examples will help clarify how tax rules apply in different situations. But keep in mind that there are many possible scenarios, and you can find more examples on our website in our tax guide for sellers of firearm and ammunition products. Scenario 1, consignment sales. When a California private party seller brings a firearm to a California licensed firearms dealer, CFD, to find a buyer, the CFD is considered the retailer of the firearm and is responsible for sales tax and the CFET on the retail sale. Scenario 2, private party transfers. When a California private party seller and buyer work out a firearm sale on their own and just go to a CFD to handle the registration paperwork to meet legal transfer requirements, the CFD is not considered the retailer as long as the CFD doesn't take title to the firearm at any point. In this scenario, the private party seller is responsible for the sales tax unless the sale qualifies for an exemption. Scenario 3, out-of-state sellers. If you're an out-of-state retailer that is not licensed to sell firearm products in California, you are not required to register for a CFET certificate of registration. However, if you sell other products to California purchasers and are engaged in business in California, you may be required to register with us for sales and use tax purposes. To determine whether you meet the criteria for registration, please refer to the tax guide for out-of-state retailers on our website. This resource provides detailed information on registration requirements and tax obligations for businesses operating outside of California. Scenario 4, out-of-state private party sellers and retailers not engaged in business in California. When a California licensed firearms dealer, CFD, facilitates the purchase of a firearm product in California on behalf of an out-of-state private party seller or an out-of-state firearms dealer that is not engaged in business in California. The CFD is considered the retailer of the firearm product. The CFD is responsible for CFET and sales tax. Since the CFD is the retailer in the transaction, the CFD is responsible for reporting and paying tax on sales made by an out-of-state seller to a California consumer. This means the CFD must report and pay both sales tax and CFET on the transaction. To ensure accurate tax calculation, the CFD should obtain a copy of the sales contract or invoice from an out-of-state licensed firearms dealer, out-of-state private party seller, or the purchaser. This documentation will help determine the correct amount of CFET and sales and use tax owed on the sale. Scenario 5, out-of-state sellers engaged in business in California. When a California licensed firearms dealer, CFD, facilitates the purchase of a firearm product in California on behalf of an out-of-state firearms dealer that is engaged in business in California, the CFD is considered the retailer of the firearm product for purposes of CFET. In this scenario, the CFD must report and pay CFET, while the out-of-state retailer remains responsible for reporting and paying the applicable California use tax. As explained in the previous scenario, to ensure accurate tax calculation, the CFD should obtain a copy of the sales contract or invoice from the appropriate parties. Again, this documentation will help determine the correct amount of CFET and sales and use tax owed on the sale. We recognize that there are many possible scenarios, so be sure to find more examples on our website in our tax guide for sellers of firearm and ammunition products. Record-keeping requirements. As a retailer in this state, you are required to keep adequate books and records to support your tax filing and claim exemptions. Examples of necessary records include exemption certificates, shipping invoices, sales orders, and any related documents that verify exempt transactions. These records must be kept for at least 4 years to ensure compliance with state tax laws. If you do not maintain proper records, we may consider it evidence of negligence or an attempt to evade tax, which can result in penalties. Keeping accurate and organized records is essential to avoid potential legal and financial consequences. It is important to understand the tax requirements for the firearm industry. We have much more information available for you in the tax guide for sellers of firearm and ammunition products on our website. Take a look. If you have questions about firearm regulations in California, you should contact the State of California Department of Justice Bureau of Firearms. They can provide guidance on licensing requirements for licensed firearms dealers, ammunition vendors, and firearm manufacturers in California. Additionally, they can clarify whether specific firearm parts or accessories are legal in California, and whether certain goods are classified as firearms, firearm precursor parts, or ammunition under state law. For the most accurate and up-to-date information, it is best to reach out directly to the Bureau of Firearms. You can visit their website at www.oag.ca.gov/firearms. If you have general tax questions, you can always email us through our website at www.cdtfa.ca.gov/email. Our customer service center representatives are available to help Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Time, except state holidays. It has been my pleasure to provide this information about sellers of firearm and ammunition products to you. We want you to succeed. Thanks for watching.